Black Ops 4 Zombies, in terms of Easter eggs, is one of my favourite games. The amount of ciphers, documents and radios, conversational quotes between the characters, the Easter eggs in BO4, which also relates to the storyline because that was one of Treyarch's main way of telling it aside from cutscenes, were probably my favourite. And when that game came to an end, and it's considered old now, right? It came out in, 2018? 7 years ago. I don't think we've had a zombies game since then that has been as rewarding as far as Easter eggs go. Yes, Cold War Zombies and Black Ops 6 Zombies have some great boss fights, they're the main quests, they're still good, but side Easter eggs, Black Ops 4 Zombies did it right. And so, to know today in the year 2025, there are still Easter eggs that are being solved on it, makes me happy, because that's exactly what happened. Yesterday, Rich Killer, who was a very, very good, I don't know what you'd call him, person that solves ciphers and hidden things within zombies. I've shown his stuff many times before, not recently because we don't have ciphers in zombies anymore. The last time was back in Cold War, but he's a top guy for stuff in the zombies community, and over on Reddit, he posted this post that covers new information regarding the Chaos story and a tiny bit that pertains to the Ether story as well. There are documents within here that up until this point we have never seen, or at the very least haven't been posted online. I haven't seen or covered them. There is a lot for the Chaos story, but I just want to go over the Ether stuff first, because to me this is the most interesting, even though Chaos is relevant right now in Black Ops 6. Anyway, a while ago there was work being done on declassifying a document that had several copies scattered throughout the map classified, with each of these copies having certain parts redacted. Anyway, he has found another redacted document, which can be found within the game's files, but unlike the others that have many different copies, this one only has one variation, making decoding it harder and less certain. Nonetheless, being as good as they are, Rich Killer and someone called Stone Cold worked on trying to declassify the redacted rows, leading to another document. And what you are about to see are the redacted versions of that document, this one here, and then the unredacted version they had been working on, which finally reads, Subject, Broken Arrow Initiative, Files, Element 115 Research. Upon several months, our laboratory has made a breakthrough. Group 935's research has set the foundation for our recent success. We have managed to achieve discovery before the USSR. Our scientists continue to find the true potential of Element 115's purpose. We propose that experimentations continue as usual to identify traits the elements hold. As instructed, we have been recording our findings in audio reels provided, some which hold further information. We will continue to conduct research and continue to document unusual findings. So, admittedly, it's not all that much, it's not groundbreaking, it's confirmation of what we already really knew in the story, but this is also stuff that's impossible to read in game. There are documents all over the maps that you can't get close enough to, whether it's using a sniper whilst you're playing or going into theatre mode, to the point where you can actually make out anything of what it's saying, and even here having to go into the game files and extract these documents, they're still redacted, which makes no sense to me. If they just contained mumble jumble words, fine, but when it's stuff like this, it does make me think, what was Treyarch's thinking behind it, because no one would ever be able to know what it actually says, unless you're Rich Killer and Stone Cold, but even then there are many other documents like this that have been classified, no pun on the map, and will probably stay that way. But yeah, as to what the classified info says, it just confirms what Broken Arrow were doing with their research. We know they confiscated items from the abandoned Group 935 facilities, such as their teleportation technology, took them back to the Pentagon, and then created their own versions of it, alongside trying to control the zombies. As mentioned earlier on, this Reddit post also contains a ton of new information about the Chaos maps. Now, normally I wouldn't be that interested in this, but because the Chaos storyline is now a part of the Black Ops 6 story, which, by the way, I do think Treyarch need to come out and say what parts are canon and what aren't, because they've clearly changed certain aspects of it. For example, and this is just going off memory, I might get the date slightly wrong here, but in the Chaos storyline in Ancient Evil, which was in 1912, Alistair got turned to stone, yet in the Dark Ether storyline in 1913, Alistair was alive and well. And again, in the Chaos storyline, Alistair was described as being a professional demonologist, something like that, someone who was well established, but in the Dark Ether storyline, he is an amateur. However, there are other events from the Chaos storyline, the main ones being the Sentinel artifacts, that still exist, but because we know for sure they've definitely rewrote parts of the story, we now don't know which parts it is. So unless Treyarch want to tell us the entire Chaos storyline again, then how are we ever meant to know what parts are still canon and what aren't? Unless it all still happened and they're somehow going to explain how Alistair is still alive in 1913 and why he suddenly became an amateur demonologist instead of a professional, and how the Sentinel artifacts originated from the Dark Ether instead of being created by the Nine, and how Cult Effects was able to give them out, unless they're going to explain that those events can still work into the old Chaos storyline and make sense, which so far they don't really. They've kind of caused a problem by changing certain parts of the Chaos story, because we're now left wondering, well, what other parts have changed, or has it all totally been rewritten? Anyway, regarding what they found, they said many textures in BO4 have their names hashed with the function fnv1a64, which means that each texture name is reduced to 64 bits. In a way that practically the best way to figure out the original name of the texture is to guess its name and confirm that function is mapping its guessed name to the same 64 bits. In simpler words, we get 64 bits and we try to guess what was the original name that led to these 64 bits. This led Stone Cold Gamer and I to work on decrypting names of textures with smart approaches, resulting in the following documents that is over 400 pages of decoded hashes. Extracting the textures and their name was done with the public tool Greyhound, which its members can use the information in the attached document to update the texture name to their original ones within the tool. Quite a bit of work in this post is based off information related to the hash decoding. One noticeable thing on the cipher side is that the names of the textures of the Blood of the Dead ciphers were decoded, confirming that the order of the letter pieces that exist in the Reddit wikis is correct, as the names consists of serial numbers that order them. So taking a look at them, the alchemy codes, in 9 you will see every temple contained a chaos cipher about its relative god that ends with "in chaos it shall be done." That is correct for all of the gods except for Odin, in which the 4th sentence mistakenly appears in game to repeat the 1st sentence of the cipher. However, when observing the texture of the cipher, they found the 4th missing sentence and decoded it. It reads, "For we are the wandering father, our quest is eternal, in chaos it shall be done." And then here is the texture of the new line for the Odin cipher, and then here is how it appears in game, where you can see the 1st and 4th rows are mistakenly identical. Furthermore, they also decoded the alchemy message in the ending of the Ancient Evil Easter egg. They said as far as they're concerned, only partial decoding could be found online, but when you decode this message, it says, "The path lies ahead, only the worthy will survive." However, when you look at this cipher in game, it does have a few mistakes, which you can see are the ones that are outlined in orange. There is also a barcode cipher which can be found in Voyage of Despair. Although not necessarily a barcode, the appearance of the texture resembles one. And as you know, if you play Black Ops 4 Zombies on easy mode, Easter eggs aren't available for you to see, and you can't see this texture in game on easy mode, which more than likely means it is a part of some kind of Easter egg or cipher. But with the decoding work of the names of the textures, they did discover that it is some kind of decodable message or a cipher. And then in a way, similarly to what they found in Classified, there are further letters that can be found scattered around Voyage of Despair, which in game are extremely blurry and extremely difficult to read, but when extracted from the game files, you can just about make out what they say, and they've transcribed them for us. This first letter on Voyage says, "FRC Grandmaster Emergency Assembly, 15th of March in the year of the Lord 1910. Meeting officially commences at 9:03 PM. Grandmaster RSC presides. Gentlemen, I apologise for both the lateness of the hour and the urgency with which this assembly was called. The issue, as it stands, could not wait. I received a letter earlier today from what I can only assume are descendant members of the Rosicrucian Order, our brothers in London. The only course of action was to bring you all here so I may read it aloud, rather than let its contents turn into kindling for the rumour mill. To the FRC, there comes a time in any organisation's history when we must question not just our mission, but our methods for achieving it. Over the centuries, the Rosicrucian Order has strived to inspire humanity towards enlightenment. We provided tools for education, wisdom and personal growth. But what have we to show for our progress? Humanity has chosen to wage wars, accumulate riches, and embrace complacency. The stench of stagnation clings to mankind as tightly as they cling to their falsehoods and false idols, and we stood by and let it happen. No more. The time has come to force humanity's enlightenment. Drastic actions must be taken to save our species. We attempted to open the eyes of our elders here in London, but they choose to remain naive, chastising us before casting us out. We reach out to you, now knowing our American brothers will not choose ignorance. Join us in our cause for the betterment of mankind." The letter is then signed by the dissident members, including several hundred names, which I shall not waste the assembly's time with. LML. What in the devil is happening in England? RSC. A good question. The Rosicrucian Order's High Council have also sent me a telegram regarding this affair. Their instruction is to reject any invitation from, and I quote, "this small rogue sect of pathetic individuals." TK. Several hundred names does not sound small. RSC. Whatever it may sound like, they and their actions do not speak for the Rosicrucian Order. The Amorc has already publicly condemned their agenda, and we will follow suit. Any works published by these dissidents is to be dismissed without discussion. From what England's told us, the new Order's proposal to force humanity's enlightenment is beyond comprehension. If anyone present even wishes to align themselves with this type of malfeasance, now is your chance to submit your resignation. No? I thought as much. Now let us move on and forget this unpleasantness. I'm sure history will do so as well. I'm not gonna lie, that's a pretty important document for us to have, and aside from that, there's 2 more which I'm not going to read out for you, but I'll put them on screen with their transcripts. All are, in my opinion, equally important to understanding the Chaos story, even now. So all I can say is what a great find this was, especially because it's been so long since Black Ops 4 released, and to even be finding stuff like this, even though the documents are there for us to read, at the same time, well, they're not, because they're not clear, and there is loads of stuff like this throughout COD Zombies. Anyway, there is more to this. Check it out for yourself. I will leave the link to it down in the description. Thank you all for watching. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.